Scott Drew staying at Baylor. I don't know how you're going to edit all this out, but that's somebody telling Kentucky no. Because of the timing of this, even though you're Kentucky, you can really slip fast. Credit Alabama for making a move with its football coach, but Kentucky's already been told no. This could go south for them. This is where one no turns into two no's and three no's and is into four no's, and suddenly Derek Dooley's walking through your front door saying that opportunity is nowhere.
I believe.
True. Do you want to pull up
No,
that?
it's very true, and I'm just going to say it. I believe that Scott Drew is just a very devout Christian and wants to uphold the standards that Baylor has upheld over the past 10 to 15 years. That because Baylor they are so religious, just like Hugh Freeze. They've had no sex scandals whatsoever at that school.
They are incredible people.
They are just those very, very, very devout Southern Baptist schools. Just they always uphold their values, guys, and they're always more holy than the rest of us. Okay,
By the way, if you want to vote, Josh Heupel is confident but not cocky, 40% of the vote, and cocky, but I love it, 50% of the vote, and cocky, but tone it down, 10% of the vote. So at least 10% say, chill out a little, Josh. Sorry to interrupt, Caleb.
No, it's fine. I think what's alarming about the Scott Drew thing is he already has a national title. Kentucky was going to offer him more money. I don't get why he turned this down, honestly. One, John Calipari already showed Kentucky's willing to recklessly give you a gigantic contract you don't deserve.
I will answer that question for you. It's the same thing as Philip Fulmer. Whoever was going to accept that job, and it was Lane Kiffin because he was in tight with Mike Hamilton, the athletic director. But after that, everybody knew that the whole program was in shambles, so nobody wanted to take the job. And the expectations were so high as they are at Kentucky, it just makes it that much worse.
Yeah, but programs in shambles, that's not really that much of a thing anymore in the era of the transfer portal. And it's also not a thing in basketball. Football, you're right. I'm not just
talking about on the court or on the field. I'm talking about the administration.
You think Scott Drew thinks the Kentucky administration is incompetent?
Or their fans are overbearing? Yes, one of the two, if not both.
I'm going to say it. If it's the overbearing fans, and I'm not knocking this because this is actually what, ironically, Mark Stoops is doing in football. What you're saying is Scott Drew is running from pressure.
That's not, I knew you were going to go there. That's not running if you're staying.
It sounds like you're saying he's running. It sounds like you're saying he's staying at Baylor because there won't be the same amount of pressure on him to win at Baylor that there will be at Kentucky.
I understand that's where you're going. I get it.
So what you're saying is he wants to be a big fish in a small pond, not a big fish in a big pond.
But is that even a thing anymore? We talk about Gonzaga. They're not a mid-major anymore. Is Baylor even a mid-major anymore?
Well, Baylor's been in the Big 12 since it formed.
Yeah, they're not a mid-major. I mean, what?
Oh, come on, no. But Baylor is that's not Kentucky.
Okay, well, I'm just telling you that with their fans, with the timing of this whole thing, when I see John Calipari run out the door with his ass on fire, then I'm probably a little bit worried about going to Lexington and being their next coach.
Someone's running.
Okay,
someone's
but
scared.
I'm running from a fan base that fired a coach that has brought them superstar after superstar. I realize it hasn't been perfect. Did win them a national championship, though, Caleb. I mean, that can't just be totally dismissed.
Hold on. Kentucky didn't fire John Calipari. He left. They were going to stick with him. They were just unhappy. Kentucky is further removed.
I don't really believe that either.
Well, hold on. Calipari's further removed from that national championship than Fulmer was removed from his when Tennessee fired Fulmer.
Barely, yeah.
12 years for Kentucky. It was 10 for Fulmer.
Yeah. So what's your point?
I'm just saying, my point is, and we all agree Tennessee made the right decision to fire Fulmer at that moment. Kentucky, they gave Calipari a lifetime contract 3 years ago, and all he did was not get out of the first weekend of the NCAA tournament when he did that.
But you realize these lifetime contracts are so stupid, right? It's the same thing.
No, that was legitimate with Calipari's. That's why it was even dumber. Because they had to pay a giant buyout.
No, but it's the same thing with those non-committable offers. all you have to do is go tell a guy, we really don't think you're a good fit. And he might hold out for his money, but chances are he's going to leave anyway. You think Calipari's not going to just go on and get another job? The thing I find funniest about his press conference is how seamlessly he just transferred from blue to red like it was no big deal.
I mean, because
I
Calipari
hate
is a
to tell you
salesman.
guys, but most coaches are mercenaries. 90%. And I'm not just saying this to make you feel good. I think Tennessee has the one football coach that might not be that guy. But
they're also
it's debatable.
they're mercenaries and they're salesmen, and Calipari is the best salesman in the world. Calipari is the guy that Coke would hire him, and then Pepsi would hire him, and he would convince you that each is better than the other.
Yeah, and then RC Cola's making a run. Why are they not calling Rick Pitino? Why is this not a done deal? He is just 71 years old. I would call Rick Pitino tomorrow. Kentucky, what are you waiting for? And I ask you on the message board, guys, is there anybody you would at least rather see be Kentucky's head coach than Rick Pitino? Because I'll go ahead and tell you, Rick Pitino is going to win a championship or two if he goes to Kentucky and gets 5 years out of it.
Well, I will say, one, they won't hire him because Larry Bird's not walking through the door. And Kevin McHale's not walking through the door. Sorry, I just wanted to throw that out there for those who don't remember that.
Remember
that. Dave, well, I'll ask you. You're a Celtics fan. Did you think he did a poor job in the NBA, or do you think he just was hampered by total lack of talent on that Celtics team?
I think that he was a little bit ignorant. I think that he didn't understand how the lottery worked, and I think that he thought he had a great chance at Tim Duncan, which he only had like an 18% chance. So I think that's what he made the mistake on. And then I think they got old right in front of him. So despite what he's done, I mean, I'm not rooting for Kentucky basketball. I do root for the Celtics. That was, I thought, a very interesting hire at the time, but I didn't really think it worked. Did you think he was going to win multiple championships? I didn't.
I mean, to me, the NBA it's not even about it's the way the game is designed. Though you win multiple championships by getting lucky and landing a generational player in the lottery like a Tim Duncan. That the whole game comes down to whether or not you can land a guy like that, right? In the NBA. I mean, there's nothing special about Greg Popovich or Phil Jackson or any of those guys. They landed Tim Duncan, Shaq, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, or Eric Spoelstra landed LeBron. That's how that works. As far as
can I read Drinker's post real quick? If I was a Kentucky fan, I'd be screaming for Jay Wright. Just seems like a good fit, but he's retired. And he's doing the TV deal. He looks young to me. He is going to. Those guys always come back at some point, don't they? Whether it's Dick Vermeil or John Gruden, they come back. He'd be the first person I would call, but I don't have any reason to believe he'd take the Kentucky job after he just left coaching and air quotes retired.
Yeah, Jay Wright. I think some people leave for their mental health, and Jay Wright was one of them. The same way Billy Donovan doesn't want to go back to college. I'm totally disagreeing with you.
Oh, Lord, I left journalism for my mental health, and I'm back in it. So sometimes your mental health can change.
That is very true, but you control your own brand now in journalism, so it's a little bit different. Fair. I totally disagree with you on Rick Pitino, like 1,000%.
Do you?
Yes.
See, because Caleb and I have started this thing where we don't tell each other where we stand because we don't want to do the show in the parking lot, as they say. The great John Pennington of the Sports Source. I stole that from him. But in this particular case, I thought we agreed, but we don't.
No, totally disagree. I think Rick Pitino, every coach relies on the three-point line now. And that matchup zone defense that he's so known for, it's won a grand total of 3 national titles, 2 by him and 1 by Jim Boeheim, when Jim Boeheim had Carmelo Anthony fall out of the sky into his lap one year. Okay. So
I'm not even sure that Jim Boeheim should get credit for that national championship. That was so mellow. It was ridiculous.
It was all mellow. I mean,
Caleb and Dave could have been the head coaches, and we would have done just fine. Boeheim was just kind of there, and he likes to whine a little bit. I don't know if you noticed that. Ray Varner Ford, a local you can trust, innovation you can afford. RayVarnerFord.com. RayVarnerFord.com. Caleb.
Yeah. So look, I get he wanted Iona, and he just got St. John's to 20 and
It's
13. They
Iona.
declined an Iona, whatever. They declined an NIT bid.
Ia Male Ava.
All I'm going to say is this. We're talking about a guy who he was at Louisville, so it's not like he was at some. I mean, Louisville's a blue blood adjacent, right? They're basically close enough to blue blood. They got 2 national titles under Denny Crum.
I was thinking about that the other day. If we're going to say that Kentucky's top 10 blue blood, then Louisville's below them, so they're top 20 blue blood?
Yeah, I would say Louisville's top 20. And he got 1 national title in 20 years there, and that national title was vacated because his own scandals. So do you really want to bring in a 71-year-old
Yes.
who the game may have passed him by,
Yes.
who hasn't had the level of success that you think you can have, who's had no greater success than John Calipari?
Absolutely.
Who also, by the way, had an extortion scandal in 2009 and then got forced out 8 years later because of another scandal.
That's crazy.
He didn't really do that. And it was his Italian restaurant, so who's to say that you can't have some sort of relations at an Italian restaurant if you own it?
Oh, okay. Okay, Dave. And also somebody who is such a great evaluator, he thought Wade Houston was a great coach. But okay, sorry.
Let me ask you this. Would you rather have the pressure at Kentucky? Because that's where it's gotten stupid. I almost think the pressure at Kentucky has gotten more significant than North Carolina or Duke.
Well, I don't know if the pressure has. I think North Carolina and Duke have just actually been delivering. I mean, Duke got 5 national titles, and North Carolina got 3 under Roy Williams. And
yeah, but I feel like almost the Wildcats have a chip on their shoulder because they're in a football conference, and this is their one last grasp to be relevant is to be great in basketball. Not good, but great in basketball, and they haven't been great. Don Self, he's your State Farm agent in the Chattanooga area. Customer service still matters. For 40 years, Don Self has built their business on taking care of their customers in the greater Chattanooga area. Call 423-396-2126. Just below in the description box, go to donself.net, donself.net. Yeah, but Kentucky, if they're not great in basketball, they're basically slightly better South Carolina. I mean, I think we both like Stoops more than a Beamer, right?
Yeah, but what happened? Yes. But again, the scandal that got Pitino fired is not the biggest scandal, which is the pay for play. That's not a thing anymore, NIL. It's very similar to Hugh Freeze of what I think Hugh Freeze was doing, but I'm not going to say it because I have no evidence, but it was out there with Pitino. So I can say it with Pitino because there were multiple people who accused this of happening, which is that prostitutes were being provided for recruits. Now, I'm just going to say this, guys. Recruits are typically 17.
Well, I was wondering when you were going to get to that because I thought you were going to go the vacating of wins and all that stuff. But a step further down the line, and speaking of, our society is so messed up when they say, oh, yeah, that 16, 17-year-old boy, he had relations with his teacher. That's so cool of him. No, if you've had a 17-year-old boy, you realize that they are not mature adults, and they should not be spending that sort of time with mature adults. So I'll say this for somebody, a son who's about that age, that's dastardly, and it kind of blows my whole take out of the water. I was wondering if you would go there. If not for that, that's who I would hire. I want to remind people they can go to.
Well, that's a big one. If not for that, not for that Jerry Sandusky scandal, I'd bring him back as my defensive coordinator tomorrow.